Hi, this is Cheryl McQueen with Bello's Designs. Today we will do a fun fall card featuring Ginger the Owl. Ginger loves fall and spends her days quietly sitting in the trees with their lovely reds, yellows, and oranges. I hope you enjoy this breath of fall air with Ginger. Let's take a look at the supplies that I'm going to be using today. And we'll start out with a multifarious smooth and supreme cardstock. This one is cut to 4 3/4 inches by 3.5 inches. I will then use a piece of cardstock for our frame around the card. This one is going to be cut to 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. We will have a card base that is cut from an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. Then I've taken 1/2 of that and folded it in half to create that card base. The stamps that we're going to be using today will include the Ginger LAV 799 stamp, the Vine Branch, this one is LAV 811, and the Oak Leaf Branch, which is LAV 468. The inks that we will be using today will include the Distress Ink Mustard Seed, Walnut Stain, and Red Barn. Then I will also use the Elements Rustic Orange. To do our basic stamping, we'll use Versafine Clair Nocturne. Then we will use a blending brush and a couple of daubers to do our little work. And I'm also going to use a couple of art markers. These will just be to add some accents to our piece here. I'm going to use some water and a small paintbrush. And I will use the Sakura Jelly Roll. This is a white ink pen to just give a little bit of accent to our leaves here. To put our card together, I will use an adhesive running tape, or you can use a craft glue as well. Alright, so let's get started working on our project. To begin our project, we're going to take our piece of art card, the multifarious piece of cardstock there, and we're going to start out by creating our background. One of the things I did forget to mention, I apologize for that, is that we're also going to use the Lavinia sticker stencils. This one is the Nature and Nurture set, and I'm going to be taking the leaf out of that particular set, and we're going to pull out and we're going to use the positive piece, the actual piece that looks like a solid leaf. And we're just going to take this leaf and just place it somewhere in the middle here of our card, just wherever you like it. Scoot that over just a little bit. Alright, so now we've got our card down here. And then to create our background that we've got here, I'm actually going to use the smooshing technique. And with that smooshing technique, I am going to use the barn door, the mustard seed, and the russet orange. So what I'm going to do, and let's go ahead and scooch this over just a little bit, is I'm going to start out with the barn door. We'll just put a little bit of the barn door down here. And then we will spritz some water just on top of that, just to get a little bit on the wet side. And then we're just going to take our piece of cardstock and start dabbing that around to pick up some of the ink in the spots around the stencil. So just dab it and swipe it. Try to pick that ink up on your card. And if you like to, in between layers, you can take like a heat tool and just kind of dry that up a little bit before you add another layer. That way sometimes you can really see the spots. go ahead and add just a little bit more of our barn door ink. And get just a little bit more red down. Okay, same thing, just keep smooching it around. What I am going to do is I will use the mustard seed next, and then I will take the russet orange and go through that process. So we will begin doing that. And I may speed the video up here so that you can see it, but you get the general idea. And in between, we'll go ahead and wipe up our colors that we've got here. Okay, and so now that we have kind of got our little smooshed background on there, I'm going to go ahead and wipe my leaf off. And now we're going to leave the leaf on for just a moment. Let's go ahead and clean this up just a little bit here. And we're going to take our barn door and a dauber. And I'm going to take that and I'm just going to spread it out around the edge of my leaf. And what I'm doing with that is just getting kind of a definition, more of a definition of that leaf with just a little bit of a red color all around the edges. So I'm just taking that, flicking it around the edges. Helps define our leaf just a little bit better. And lets you be able to really see the edges of it. Alright, and so now once you have added some of that red around the edge, that was the barn door, then we will go ahead and remove our stencil. And now we have this really lovely, well-defined leaf shape for our background. Now, what I want to do at this point is I'd like to blend it all so that it looks nice and smooth. So that's where we're going to take our mustard seed. And we're going to take just a nice little soft blending brush and just gently go over the entire surface with the mustard seed. So this will do two things. This will actually soften and add to the background where we've done the smooshing technique. And then it will also add the mustard seed yellow color to the center of the leaf that we had stenciled out. So this will soften out that white part that we see there where the leaf was stenciled and make it look like it blends more with our background. So just go over the entire surface. And then you see how lovely that ends up making our colors that we smush together just blend together and look like they all go together really beautifully. You can do your leaf as dark or as light as you'd like. I like to keep it just a little bit light. And then with that, we are ready to go ahead and move on to doing our stenciling. Our stamping. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull out, I like to use a stamping platform, so let me grab that real quick here. All right, sorry, that was set a little bit out of my reach. What I like to do with my stamping platform is put a sticky grid down. That way I don't have to mess with using the magnets. So you'll see that I just stick it down there and then don't have to worry too much about it moving around because it'll stick to that sticky grid. So what we want to do is start out with our branch here and just put it down across the bottom. And this will give a branch for Ginger to stand on. I am going to go ahead, because I don't want to get my sticky grid too messed up here, I'm just going to go ahead and put a little scrap piece of paper down here for my branch to overlap. Let's go ahead and pick that up, and then we will ink up our stamp. I only need to ink up the branch part because that's all that's going to be on my card. Alright, so now we'll get that down in place. I like to hold mine down for just a little moment or two just to be able to allow that ink to really absorb into the card. And with that, I actually didn't get it down solid enough. I'm going to go ahead and give it just a slight little bit more ink. Actually got a little ink on my platform door there, so we'll wipe that off so we don't smear that on our project. And then make sure we've got nice, good pressure to allow us to get a really good impression. There we go. Alright, so we will remove that one and move on to our Ginger stamp. And with her, you want to make sure that she is standing on the branch. So place her feet down there. So she's standing on the branch. And we will get her stamped down. Great thing about the stamping platform is if you do need to make a second impression, it's really good for making sure that you get the stamp right back in the exact same spot. Alright, and I think we've got a really nice impression for Ginger there. And now for our final stamp, we're going to take the oak leaves, and you can see mine is very well loved, and we're just going to kind of spread them around the top of the picture here. So let's go ahead and put this one maybe coming about like that. And again, I'll add a little bit of scrap paper here. Let's see if I can find another little piece. Put up at the top as well. Ink up our stamp. And place these around our perimeter of the card. right. And so now we've got all of our stamping done, and we can go ahead and move on to adding just a little bit of details to our project. Okay, for this part, we are going to start out by just putting a basic layer down on Ginger and on the branch in our walnut stain. This will just kind of give her just a little bit of a background brown. We don't want it to be too dark, so we will be using quite a bit of water. But we do want to make sure that we can see where we have put the brown, so that makes her stand out a little bit against the background. And one of the things that we don't mind with this particular card is if a little bit of the background colors show through. That just adds a little bit of interest to our card. Gives her a little bit of a unique look. So we're just going to basically go over with one light little coat in the browns, the walnut stain. And then in just a moment we will go back in with our markers and maybe do a little bit of accenting. Okay, so we have just filled in just lightly with that walnut stain, and then taken our art markers and just kind of added a little bit of shadowing in there. I don't want to go into super duper detail on her because I want her to actually look like she belongs with the background, like she's actually fitting in with the trees. So let's wipe up this so that we don't put our arm down in it. And now we're going to take just a little bit of the walnut stain again, and our water and paintbrush, and we're just going to add a few little shadows here on the leaf. And I really do want to get a really light touch on that. I don't want it dark. So what we're going to do is get a whole lot of water and just a little bit of the ink. And then we're just going to kind of go around a little bit on the edges. I'm even going to get that lighter, just to give a little bit of shadowing to our leaf and make it not quite so bad, so flat looking. This just kind of gives it a little bit more interest to it. Again, we just really need such a tiny, tiny little bit, because we don't want it to be a really dark shadow, just kind of something that gives a bit of depth, I suppose, is the word that we might be looking for here on our leaves, on our background leaf. So let's just add just a tiny little bit more here. Alright, so again, this is just to make it not look like it's just a little flat piece of paper there, kind of give some more dimension to it. Put a little bit right here just to give more shadows right around our owl. Alright, now she's looking really great. So what we want to do at this point is just go ahead and add a little bit of a distress look to it. As you can kind of see from my example here, I've just added a little frame around the edge, and so that's what we're going to go ahead and do now. I'm going to take a little dauber and the walnut stain, and we're just going to take that and just gently go around the outer edge, just in little circles, just to kind of give that distress look. I like to do that because to me it also brings the eye towards the center. It gives a nice little frame, besides giving it just a little bit more atmosphere. Just to me finishes out the card really nicely. Alright, so now we're ready to go ahead and put our card together. One little detail I do like to add before we put our card together is to go ahead and do, just with the little Sakura, the white jelly roll pen, just add a little bit to the leaves here, kind of put in some of the veins. This also, again, adds a little bit more reality and dimension to the leaves. So if you can kind of see there, it's not just a whole lot, it's just enough to give that impression that they're not just little flat black marks there. Alright, so hopefully you can kind of see how that just really gives a little bit more punch just by adding those white lines on there. Alright, so now let's put the card together. We'll take our adhesive running tape, or you can use a paper glue if you've got that. And just run that along the edges. That's centered in our little piece of cardstock that we'll use to create our frame. And then we'll take our piece of cardstock that we've got for the background card, and we will center that on there. I actually went ahead and picked you probably can't see it here, it's kind of a gold metallic card. I thought that gave it just a little bit of an extra touch, and I really like the color with the fall colors that we have here. Alright, and then once we've got that centered, we are done with our card. Thank you so much for watching my video tutorial today. I hope you love fall as much as Ginger and I do. This is a lovely card to make to celebrate this time of year and all the beautiful colors. I hope you enjoyed the video tutorial today, and remember to check out more tutorials on the design team page at delbellosdesigns.com. Have a great day!